lot of people have that. They're scared. They're scared of complications. They're scared of failure. Failure is a big one that people are afraid of, but failure is one of the most important things you could ever have as far as like the motivation to do things differently. One of the reasons why I think that I'm good.
First and foremost, my name is Guillermo, aka Memo. For some of those that know me in the car world, it's either Mr. GSX or Mr. Memo. So man, it's how I started. It's funny you asked because just even thinking about it, it all started here with my father. Big car guy, always working on cars, and so I believe because of his passion towards working on cars and classic cars, it just rubbed off on me, just wanting to always be helping. So my first project build was, I would say, my Eclipse, which is the one to the left of myself. That was my first car that I felt it was mine and I worked on. I've had other cars, but I didn't have a passion for them exactly like I did this. I mean, the whole street racing scene was huge in the 90s, and this is pre Fast and the Furious. This is when the underground racing was going on. And so when I first got my Eclipse, man, for sure, lower wing springs, intake, and exhaust were the main first thing. My current project is my 1999 all-wheel drive turbo Eclipse, which is the same thing as my other Eclipse. This one, I labeled it the Angry Panda. The reason being is that there's a lot of pandas out there, but this one is going to be angry. The reason being it's going to be, I think, fairly unique compared to all of the other Eclipses that are out there. Not only that, but the end goal here is to build an awesome car, but also to make it to SEMA 2019. That's the main goal, and that's the reason for this build. What's going to make the Angry Panda unique is that there's nobody else documenting the process of their builds like I am. So I think that's what makes it unique. Is it a unique car? Yes, it will be. I can't tell details about it, but it is going to be unique because you will see the process of it, and I think that's what's going to be big. And you'll be able to enjoy the whole process. Is the main thing. So my experience on Fast and the Furious, let's start off with how I got there. So I have a really good friend named Dennis Kako. Dennis Kako is actually the creator of Autocannon and Max Boost. Max Boost was in Import Tuner magazine as a comic strip. Fast forward, I'm a big Autocannon fan, which is also his t-shirt line at the time. So I was helping him at a car show in Pomona. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember walking up to a table and it says casting call for a import car movie, and at the time it said Red Line. So that was the name of the Fast and the Furious prior to being Fast and the Furious. So I signed up, not thinking anything. I said, hey, yeah, right, I'll sign up. They took a picture of me and I said, all right, whatever. Just kept on going. And a month later after that, then I got a phone call saying, hey, we would love for you to be in the movie, and again, Red Line. So I said, sure, why not? I'm in San Diego, you're filming in LA, and they asked me if that's going to be an issue. I said, no worries. So I ended up moving to grandma's house because my grandma lives in East LA, and I stayed out of her house for about a month while we were filming in different locations in LA. The first scene that we filmed was in between the two buildings, which was in downtown LA. So a lot of the cars that they have in the movie, they're actually import tuner guys. So it was almost like and nowadays you would call it a meetup. So we would meet. It was a meetup, so we were all parked, and it was just like a cool meetup. And obviously, while we're filming, I mean, you're around Vin Diesel, you're around Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Noel G, right, and around Ja Rule. So while we're on set, you got to take in mind that it's not only one take. It's usually about 100 takes or so, right? So you get to know all these people around you. So not only the import guys, but also the actors. So in those particular scenes, it was just pretty cool because at that moment you had all the actors in one location. and are in a surrounding where they were almost like us. And at the time, we didn't even know that what this movie was going to do, right? So Vin Diesel, he was coming up. Jordana Brewster had a couple of movies, even also Paul Walker, right? But we didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, Rob Cohen, the director of the film, is a big director. So we and we knew Universal was behind it. So that was huge. So it was just pretty much a blessing just to be around cars, car people, and even just these actors. And then in other scenes, we also got a chance to talk to Paul. We just had finished filming one of the scenes, and he's like, oh man, what a long day. And I said, yeah, it was a long day, but at least you live over here. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I have to drive back to San Diego. At the time I was driving back to San Diego. He's like, what, you drove all the way over here from San Diego? I'm like, yeah, man. So that was my experience with Paul Walker. And not only that, but we also spoke, I think, one other time when we were talking about the actual Eclipse in the movie, where they made it seem like it was a turbo car, but it really wasn't. So I got a chance to talk to him, and obviously Noel G is always like, even to this day, he's really down to earth guy. That whenever I do run into him, we chat and stuff like that. He's good friends with one of my good friends, Frankie J, recording artist. So I get to see him every so often. So a lot of the times, obviously, this is a big production, Universal's. A lot of people that don't know about the movie is that there wasn't that many stunt drivers or stunt men. They only had enough to cover the actual actors, the main actors. So a lot of the stunts, actually, we did them ourselves. Like in the race scene when everybody said cops, cops, we were actually driving our cars, speeding out of there. So you got to take this in consideration that we're not stunt people, and we're trying to figure out how to get out of there quick as possible. So, make a long story short, we actually ended up getting an extra paycheck months later, or almost a year later, because of those scenes that we were actually being our own stunt doubles and stuff like that, because it could have caused an accident and stuff like that. So they took care of us. So while we were filming the movie, most people know me, or some people that don't know me, I didn't get a chance to actually drive my Eclipse personally. Is because it was in the body shop. At the time, body kits were cool and stuff like that. So when they called me up, I didn't have my car available. So luckily, I was president of a car club called Total Eclipse, which was all 2G Eclipses. So luckily I had access to cars. So I borrowed 2 Eclipses, which you've seen in 2 different scenes in the movie, a yellow one in the race scene and a blue one in the scene where we go into Harry's shop. So that was one of the cool things that some people didn't know. So after we finished filming, obviously the premiere of the movie, right? So this was huge, right? I mean, this is Universal Pictures. So a lot of us got together, my car club and family and friends, and we went to the movie theater to see the movie. And before this, I'd already had seen director's cut at Universal. So I got lucky. One of my friends, he's an import guy, and he got invited. At the time, he was working at Engine Technologies. His name is Eric. Eric invited me over to see the director's cut, so I got a chance to see it. But fast forward, we all got together at the movie theater, and it was just like crazy, right? Because I'm not saying a celebrity style, but everybody knew that I was in Fast and Furious, because that was an epic movie, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what blew up even more the import scene, and it showed it to the world. So the aftermath on that was, now all the import tuner cars craze started blowing up. Aftermarket parts companies like Grady, HKS, even tire companies, Falcon, Sparkle Racing Seats, they were all in the movie. So now their profit margins and everything just blew up. So this whole import scene just went crazy, because there was drag racing scenes, there was hot import nights, there was import tuner magazine, turbo magazine. It was just crazy. It was just nuts. So that's pretty much what happened after the math of Fast and Furious. It's a blessing, right, to have been part of a production movie like that, and just even still being into these type of cars. So after Fast and Furious, the car got a full body kit, paint job and everything, so I got into the import shows. So that was my main thing, because street racing after Fast and Furious, that brought attention to the street racing. So before, in the 90s, we would street race till 4 or 5 in the morning and go home and go to sleep. But when Fast and Furious came out, all of a sudden the street racing scene exploded. So now there was laws, now there was police, now there was all sorts of attention to these cars. So I ended up going full show, and that's what happened with this car. And I did that till 2003 and 2004, and then I actually pretty much retired from the import scene for about 15 years till actually about a year ago got back into it. But in the process was always into cars, even classic cars. So my passion for cars didn't go away. There was just the attention for these cars went away because obviously there was so much attention from the police with these cars that I ended up storing the car for over 13-15 years or so, about 13 years. That's why this car particularly has only 53,000 original miles. So that makes it, for those that don't know, that makes me the original owner of this car. This car is a 1999 all-wheel drive turbo Eclipse, and I actually bought it December of '98. So I purchased it before it was even 1999. Well, I didn't purchase it at the time. You got to think, I'm 18 years old. This car, it has a sticker price of $27,000. So I actually had to have my mom co-sign for this because the car was $27,000 and an 18-year-old kid couldn't afford something like that. So that's a little story behind this car. So my experience before Fast and the Furious, man, we were just kids, just like any other car club, right? You're getting together with a bunch of friends, and I first created Game Over racing crew or team, right? We were in high school, so it was two other buddies, my buddy Gilbert that passed away, and my other buddy Alex, and we, at the time, Gilbert had a Ford Probe and Alex had a 95 Accord. So we'd say, hey, we're friends, we have cars, let's start a team. And so we started Team Game Over. That was prior to my Eclipse. That was when I had a Silverado truck. So I was racing in a Silverado truck. At the time, there was just street racing. So Mustangs, Camaros, whatever it was, import cars, trucks, we were all street racing. And then once I got my Eclipse, I was actually, a lot of people don't know, and I almost bought a Acura Integra GSR. That was my first option, and this was that's what the car I was gonna get from the dealership. But one of my buddies one of the guys that was dating a girl down the street would always pull up in a 95, 96 Eclipse with a Kaminari wing and a body kit on it, red with Yokohama AVS wheels on it, and he would always pull up and go to her house. Anyways, me being a car guy, just, hey, what's up, man? Tell me about your car, stuff like that. So we ended up talking, and I ended up finding that there was such a thing of an all-wheel drive turbo car. I mean, I didn't know nothing. I mean, I grew up with rear-wheel drive V8s. So once he told me it, and he gave me a ride in it, he sold me. So that's when I ended up, I said I have to have a all-wheel drive turbo Eclipse. And that's what's stuck. Raw file stuck, getting cooler piping, no intake. So I started my YouTube channel. What was nuts is I started my YouTube channel just pretty much documenting my life. So it wasn't necessarily just all cars. It was actually traveling. It was coffee shops. And there were some cars and coffee events in there because I still wanted to have everything. But the day I started watching Smurf WRX, which is also the Mike over at Tuner Crate. I started watching him, and I started watching the style of vlogging he was doing and documenting his car. So that got me into a little bit more of the documentation of vehicles. But it all started when I ended up meeting Evan from Throttle. I met him and I told him what I had, and I had an Eclipse, and he thought it would be a good idea to film the car and put it on their channel and make it as a barn find Eclipse because it was low mileage. And at the time, this car was being stored in my warehouse for several years now. So sure enough, we set that up. Evan came over. At the time, I think they had about 67,000 subscribers. So he told me, hey Memo, we're gonna film this, but at the time we were filming it possibly of him possibly selling it, but it was more to bring attention to this particular car. Once we went live on his channel, he said, Memo, you have to do a follow-up on this car. So as soon as we did that, he decided to put on his YouTube channel, hey, if you guys want Memo to save this Eclipse, put save the Eclipse.
So go to his YouTube channel, subscribe, drop a comment and tell him save the Eclipse. Hashtag save the Eclipse.
Save the Eclipse. And next thing you know, it was just like save the Eclipse, save the Eclipse. And even though they only had 67,000, it was just a massive following. So right then and there, the next day, I had a follow-up video to this of pulling it out of the warehouse and bringing it back. So that automatically, I went from, let's just say, I think I had like 25 followers, and I jumped up to 100, next you know 200 and 300, 400 just off of 1 or 2 videos. So that brought me into saying, hey, I think there is something here with these Eclipses, DSMs, right? And so for me, that was an opportunity to build something, build a brand, build attention to these cars that you don't see anymore. Because Fast and Furious was a blessing, but it was also, I think, a curse, because a lot of these cars got body kits and parts put onto them. They got trashed and they got dumped, they got thrown away. So most people that know, they don't see too many Eclipses out there. And when you do, they're very little. So that for me was important to follow and brand Save the Eclipse. Obviously thanks to Evan, it was his idea and I just ran with it, and sure enough, so what did I do? I started a brand called Save the Eclipse, and now it's a worldwide movement, because I have people from Poland, Germany, Spain, Brazil, man, Argentina, I mean all over the US as well, but Canada, Mexico. So now it's just went from, my YouTube channel went from a couple hundred up to almost hitting about 6,500 right now. And for me, that's awesome for these cars to bring exposure to them. I just thought it was important to bring this community back, and not only that, but bring the attention of this, the Angry Panda, to SEMA, because I don't know when's the last time there was a Eclipse at SEMA. So this movement has been a blessing, and I appreciate everybody that's been supporting all over the world and buying t-shirts and stickers and stuff like that. So the reason why I chose an all-wheel drive turbo Eclipse, it was because of that one guy that just gave me a ride in it, and that drove my passion towards Eclipses and being different. So just even starting off, I mean, being in the import scene since the 90s and seeing so many, how it has evolved has been nuts. I mean, there's Stunts now, there's airbags. Before there was no such thing as airbags, there were air struts when they came out. It's crazy. It's good to see it though. It's I noticed it about 3 years ago. I went to a Super Street meetup at the Peterson Museum, and just the crowd that it brought, it was exciting, man. I was reliving my teenage years, right? So I mean, I think it's really good. I mean, I think the scene is strong right now. I think all these kids that were my age at the time now having these the money and the time to build, you know, high quality cars. I mean, stuff that you see in, you know, in videos and stuff like that. And not only with social media, I mean, it's a great time to be in the import scene. At least I think. So yeah, what I think it's important, having a YouTube channel, it brings a lot of attention. And what I like to do is, I don't like to make it about me, so I try to collaborate with other YouTubers in the DSM community. And even if they're not in the DSM community, it's just help each other, right? We have a platform, and we have the attention. It's like we have to use it. I mean, even doing collaborations with like Miguel _ DSM and Byron DSM and One-Handed Pants from Arizona. I mean, we've done meetups and carne asadas in LA. I mean, what's cool about having this type of platform is that it unites us, and I think that's the biggest thing. And me, as I guess if you call myself a YouTuber, That is my main goal, is to bring everybody together, and not just on myself. It's like we shine together. And when you get to a certain age in life, you know, you're not as selfish. You want to share wealth, you want to share attention with everybody else, and I think that's what's important, and that's what Save the Eclipse movement really is just bringing unity and bringing everybody together, you know, from all over the world. So the future plans is to obviously repaint this car, keep it period correct, finish the White Panda, and hopefully make it to SEMA with all the great sponsors that we have. And future for other builds, I mean, I think there's no limit. Utilizing YouTube and keep growing the YouTube channel will allow me to purchase more cars and move my production from my garage into my warehouse, where it just keeps growing and my passion for cars keeps growing, not only for Eclipses and DSMs, but other makes and models too. Like, you never know, maybe we'll get a right-hand drive something. We'll just keep it like that. So one thing is that I don't just love one car, I'm just a big car guy. So I would love to own a fleet of cars, which I'm already started, but I think future cars for sure is, like I mentioned, is being unique. And something, if it's gonna be import, it would have to probably be right-hand drive, whether it's an R33, 34, or it might just be you know, RX-7 right-hand drive, or even, I won't even discourage or discredit a right-hand drive Civic Type R from Japan. I mean, at the end of the day, cars are cars. I'll even buy a lowrider or build another lowrider. So to me, it's just being driven for the passion of cars. So with this build, the Angry Panda build, aka SEMA 2019, we have, because of the YouTube channel, because of the contacts, we have some big companies behind this build. Thanks to not only, first and foremost, would be Dennis Kako with Autocannon Max Boost. He put us in front of Falcon Tires. So you know, Falcon Tires is a big sponsor for this particular build, and also Sparko Racing Seats. They've been supportive. We also have Roth Fab, which is a fabrication company, Carbonetics, which is a big DSM carbon fiber producer. We have Ohm Racing, which is going to be providing the wiring behind this. Titan 7 Wheels is also going to be providing 18-inch by 9.5 forged wheels for this particular car. So what that does, it brings attention to the community, but not only that, but these companies are willing to put some money and put their names behind a build like this. So I'm super excited for this year and to seeing this car being done. So thanks for watching, I appreciate it. This is Mr. GSX. You can find me at Mr. GSX on Instagram and also Mr. Memo on YouTube. I appreciate you guys, and make sure to be driven by passion.